Good morning. Welcome to the quarterly RMTS and SMAA call. My name is Jorge Alvarez, and I'm an analyst with the SMAA unit. And I'll be presenting today alongside Luke Foster, an analyst from LEA-BOP Provider Relations Unit. As you may know, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, issued a new policy document in May 2023 with guidance on school-based programs and RMTS. Today, we would like to take time to share pending changes scheduled to take effect July 1st, 2026. DHCS will submit our Time Study Implementation Plan, TSIP, to CMS soon. In the draft TSIP, the first topic we will share today relates to the new Time Study Participant Calendar Requirements. This will be followed by best practices on how to develop a quality TSP list. So before we start, if you have any questions during today's meeting, please submit them in the chat. If we are unable to answer your questions during today's call, we will follow up with you afterwards. Please start your question with your name, LEA, or entity affiliation, and email so we can know how to get back to you. Time permitting, we will take live questions at the end of our presentation. In the meantime, please keep your microphones muted to avoid background noise. Please feel free to have your cameras on or off during this meeting, whichever you prefer. On this slide, there's a graphic shown with arrows pointing to the meeting's Q&A feature, as well as where to type your question. For today's meeting, we will be using the Q&A feature, which you can access by clicking the Q&A icon on your toolbar, as shown in the graphic here on the right. A Q&A window will pop up on the right side, where you can type and submit your questions. Live captions are available for anyone who needs them. The graphic on this slide highlights the steps to enable live captions with arrows pointing to each option in Teams. To turn off captions, click the More icon in your Teams toolbar, select Language and Speech, and then choose Show Live Captions. Captions will appear in the bottom panel of the meeting. A live transcript is also available for those who may need it. The graphic on this slide highlights the steps to enable live transcription with arrows pointing to each option in Teams. To turn on the transcript, click the More icon in your Teams toolbar, select Record and Transcribe, then choose Show Transcript. The transcript will appear on the right side panel of the meeting. On this slide, there's a graphic of which the listserv webpage looks like on the right of the screen, where you can fill in your name and email address and then hit the subscribe button. DHCS communicates through the LEA-BOP and SMAA listserv regarding important program information. This is the portal through which you can receive all communications regarding meetings, program policy updates, and reminders. Please sign up today if you haven't already. You may subscribe and unsubscribe to the listserv using the subscription link found on this slide. Please do not email LEA, BOP, or SMAA inboxes to sign up for the listserv or request to sign up any other employee. We cannot subscribe or unsubscribe for you. Instead, use the link on the LEA, BOP, and SMAA homepages to sign up. Also, to ensure slides are available before each session, reminders are sent 2 to 3 days in advance and again on the day of the meeting. Slides are distributed through LEA, BOP, and SMAA listserv, making subscription essential for timely access to material. And just a quick reminder, slides were sent out through the listserv on Tuesday. If you're not already subscribed, you can join the LEA, BOP, and SMAA listserv to get future e-blasts with the link below. Before we get started on our topics, there are a few important disclaimers we'd like to go over. The information presented in today's first topic reflects changes coming to the proposed TSIP and is subject to change pending CMS approval. We are sharing the information now because the CMS guidance on changes necessary in the school-based Medi-Cal programs requires implementation by July 1st, 2026. We believe that if we wait until we have a CMS approval, there will not be enough time to prepare. Please know that DHCS remains committed to ongoing communication and technical assistance for LEAs and program partners. DHCS is working closely with LEX, who will ultimately provide LEA's guidance on how policy is implemented at the region level. Upon approval of the TSIP, all LEAs should work closely with their LEC at the appropriate time. So here's the agenda for today's meeting. We'll start by reviewing the new TSP Calendar Requirement. After that, we'll discuss best practices for developing quality TSP lists. And finally, we'll wrap up with closing remarks and address any remaining questions. Now let's review the goals for today's meeting. These goals will guide our discussion and ensure we cover the most important updates. First, we want to clarify that the new TSP calendar requirements are designed to ensure accurate capturing of all paid and working days in compliance with federal guidance. Second, we'll outline the best practices for developing accurate TSP lists. This includes proper classification of Pool 1 and Pool 2 participants, verifying credentials, and making quarterly updates to maintain compliance. Finally, we'll highlight strategies to enhance RMTS accuracy and reimbursement integrity. This means focusing on quality over quantity when building TSP lists and using vacancies planning wisely. Here's a list of commonly used terms and acronyms that we'll be referencing throughout the session, such as Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, Extended School Year, ESY, Random Moment Time Study, RMTS, and Time Study Participant, TSP. So now let's dive into the first topic, the new TSP Calendar Requirement. Before we get into details of the proposed policy, I want to point out the main differences between the current and new policy. The current policy is located in section 6/12 of the SMAA manual, and it reads, each quarter, district calendars will be reviewed by the LEC/LGA to determine the dates that the students are in attendance, and those dates will be included in the RMTS sample. School calendars will be evaluated annually, and the sample dates will be determined and documented by the LGA/LEC, who is required to notify the SSP vendor of these changes. The proposed TSIP has updated language that will now say that the calendar must have the ability to capture 100% of paid work time for the entire TSP universe. When the LEA has TSPs in both participant pools, a minimum of 2 calendars per LEA are required to differentiate start and end dates per participant pool. When applicable, another categorization may be used to achieve the same purpose. Multiple calendars need to be submitted when TSPs have different start and end dates. Calendars will be submitted by participant pool or another categorization may be used when appropriate. A minimum of 2 calendars are needed to reflect earliest and latest workday of the quarter for each pool of participants. 1 calendar can be submitted if all TSPs share the same start and end date, specifically for quarter 2 and 3. Regardless if submitting 1 or multiple calendars, 100% of paid and working days for each quarter needs to be captured. Calendars will be based on paid and working days rather than on school attendance days. Currently, developing quarterly calendars involves looking at student attendance days. Under the new CMS guidance, we will need to look at your staff schedules or calendar development. This new requirement will take a bit more effort. We recommend planning additional time for calendar development. Moving forward, only days when staff are actually paid and working should be included in the calendar. For example, in-service days count and should be included even if students are not in school, since staff are working and are being paid. This will include the extended school year or ESY, as that is part of quarter 1 and or quarter 4, depending on the LEA. On the other hand, days before the school year starts, when staff aren't working, should not be included. Why does this matter? RMTS moments should be based on participants' paid and working time to ensure they reflect actual work activities and not periods when participants are not working. On this slide, there's a graphic of 2 August calendars shown side by side to demonstrate submitting multiple calendars. The calendar on the left shows an August calendar with a Pool 2 administrative staff start date of August 1st. The calendar on the right shows an August calendar with Pool 1 start date of August 15. Since there are different start dates for the two groups of participants, two calendars will need to be submitted. One calendar for all Pool 2 staff starting work on August 1st, and another calendar for all Pool 1 staff starting on August 15th. Along with two calendars, participant-specific work schedules or shifts will need to be provided to account for the days of the week and time that each TSP is scheduled to work. We'll look at the specific times in a future slide. So a participant's work schedule should cover all hours worked during a workday, which includes lunch and breaks. For all time participants, they can be grouped into one or more similar shifts that capture total paid and working time for each working day. An example of a shift based on start and end times is an 8-hour working day that starts at 7:45 a.m. and ends at 3:45 p.m., which includes lunch and breaks. For part-time participants, they can be grouped into one or more similar shifts based on their scheduled workday and hours. For all cases, 100% of a participant's shift should be captured. This means recording all time that a TSP is scheduled to work. On this slide, there's a visual which shows examples of three types of work schedules or shifts for a full-time participant, part-time A participant, and a part-time B participant. A full-time participant example shows an 8-hour shift from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The two part-time participants, A and B, work 4-hour shifts. Participant's A shift is from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and participant B's shift is from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. As a quick note regarding moments, it is important to remember that since a moment in the RMTS methodology is defined as a 1 minute in time, no moment shall be issued at the final minute of a TSP's assigned work schedule, because that moment goes past the scheduled time or shift. You may be wondering why this matters. First, the new calendar requirement matters when participating in both LEA BOP and SMAA, because two calendars are needed to identify Pool 1 and Pool 2 schedules. Next, having multiple calendars aligns with CMS guidance of capturing all paid and working days. And lastly, having multiple calendars helps minimize non-response for participants, which has a direct correlation to the amount of reimbursement for the LEA. Some key takeaways are for all LEAs that participate in LEA BOP and SMAA to submit a minimum of two calendars or multiple calendars are required when participants' start or end days are different. Calendars must capture 100% of paid and working time, including in-service days when students are not in attendance. A single calendar can be submitted when all TSPs share the same start and end date, specific to quarter 2 and 3, or when participants participate in only one school-based program. RMTS administrative units will be available to provide more detailed information to LEAs upon approval from DHCS and CMS. Now I'll hand it over to Luke for our next topic.
Thank you. Today, I will go over developing a quality TSP list. The bottom corner of this slide shows a checklist icon alongside a group icon with a question mark. These graphics are to illustrate the time survey participant list, or TSP list. Let's discuss the TSP list that is required from LEAs. The TSP list includes all eligible staff employed by the LEA that are expected to deliver Medicaid covered services to students in the upcoming quarter and whose costs will be claimed through one of the two school-based programs. California uses two participant pools. Pool 1 for the LEA BOP consists of direct medical service staff who perform direct services and must meet the practitioner qualifications necessary for reimbursement through the LEA BOP. Pool 2 for SMAA is comprised of administrative activity claiming staff who conduct allowable Medicaid administrative activities. This pool also includes direct service practitioners who perform administrative functions and will not be claiming any direct medical services during the quarter. An example would be a supervising clinician who does not provide direct services. Please note a TSP cannot be listed in both pools. This slide contains two icons near the center divided by a vertical line. One is a checkmark icon to represent participant pool 1 on the left, and the other is a handshake icon to represent participant pool 2 on the right. So who should be on your TSP list and who shouldn't? Let's break it down. State or non-federally funded staff belong on the list if your LEA plans to claim their costs through LEA BOP or SMAA. If someone is 100% federally funded, they're out. They cannot be on either list. Pool 1 is for staff who perform direct medical services. If your LEA has both employed and contracted staff, only employed practitioners go on the Pool 1 list. Pool 2 is for staff who perform Medicaid administrative services. Employed staff or contractors that only participate in SMAA go on the Pool 2 list. LEAs who are enrolled in LEA BOP, not SMAA, and are Model 2 LEAs, meaning all of your practitioners are contracted, do not need to participate in RMTS. One quick tip, staff changes happen often, so LEAs should ensure TSP lists are submitted, reviewed, and certified every quarter, and work closely with regional LECs to understand timing and specific requirements. Keeping the TSP list accurate is key to compliance and reimbursement. This slide has a flowchart made of icons to show a simplified overview of how the TSP list impacts the LEA BOP and SMAA. The TSP list is used to identify the universe of personnel that may receive a moment during the quarter. Please note there are more details in the claiming process, but generally this is how it works. At the top of the graphic, the TSP list identifies all staff eligible in participants pools 1 and 2 to participate in the RMTS. On the left side is a group icon for Pool 1 participants for LEA BOP, and on the right side is a group icon for Pool 2 participants for SMAA. As indicated by the arrows, both group icons meet in the middle to participate in RMTS, where all TSPs on the TSP list are eligible to receive a notification to respond to a random moment. Based on how that individual responds to the moment, a calculation is then made to create the direct medical service percentage, or DMSP, for LEA BOP and the RMTS percentage for SMAA. Finally, the DMSP is included in the cost and reimbursement comparison schedule, which I will refer to as a CRCS or cost report moving forward, for LEA BOP, and the RMTS percentage is included in the SMAA invoice, both represented by an icon of a clipboard with an envelope. It is important to be aware that every TSP included on the TSP list impacts the RMTS percentage and DMSP through their responses to random moments. Without a TSP list, you cannot calculate the time your eligible staff spend on Medicaid covered services, which is the purpose of the RMTS. It is also very important to remember that all TSPs must be on the quarterly TSP list that corresponds with the cost for that quarter on the LEA BOP CRCS and SMAA invoice. The graphic on the right side of this slide illustrates an individual identifying who to include in their LEA's TSP list. Now that we've discussed the impact of the TSP list for both programs, let's talk about why an accurate TSP list is important. For the LEA BOP, LEAs can only include employed practitioner costs on the CRCS if those practitioners are on the Pool 1 TSP list. If practitioners are not on the LEA's cost report, the LEA isn't getting any reimbursement for those practitioners. As a reminder, the CRCS is one of the most important compliance documents for LEA BOP and is where your LEA certifies the cost of providing Medicaid-covered services to students. This determines what an LEA receives in the final settlement. For SMAA, costs can only be claimed for eligible staff that were included in the Pool 2 TSP list. LEAs wanting to claim costs for their eligible employed staff must ensure they include staff who will be providing Medicaid-covered services during the quarter to their TSP pool lists. The graphic on this slide demonstrates an example to explain the importance of building quality TSP lists. Two group icons, each representing an LEA's group of TSPs in the same region, had a calculation of their moment responses that were coded as eligible. An arrow then points towards an icon with a clock and pie chart to represent the RMTS moment results calculations pulled together for the region. Remember, anyone on the TSP list may receive a random moment asking what type of activity they were doing at that moment. Those moments are coded as either allowable or unallowable under both programs, so it does matter whether the TSPs are actually providing eligible Medicaid services during the quarter. Let's review an example to illustrate how this works. Let's say there are two LEAs in the same region. Each LEA receives 10 random moments for their group of TSPs to respond to. LEA 1 spends a lot of time providing program-covered Medicaid services, so 7 out of 10 moments are coded as eligible. LEA 2 does spend some time providing program-covered services, but not as much, so only 2 out of 10 moments are coded as eligible. The moment results are then pooled together, so the RMTS results calculation for the region would be 45%. So, if an LEA is increasing the number of eligible staff on their TSP list, but most of the staff's time is not being spent on program-covered services, then many of their moment responses will be coded as non-reimbursable. This will then dilute the entire region's RMTS results calculation and lower the percentage of costs each LEA can claim. In general, for both the LEA BOP and SMAA programs, there's a consideration LEA should make regarding all eligible Pool 1 and Pool 2 staff to the TSP list for a quarter compared to only adding staff that spend a good deal of their time on program-covered services. Quality over quantity is important to keep in mind for every LEA. Now we will cover some requirements to help LEAs develop and maintain an accurate TSP list. To maintain an accurate TSP list, you should review and update the Pool 1 and Pool 2 TSP list quarterly. Verify that staff included on the TSP list for Pool 1 meet the credential and licensing requirements. Make sure practitioner job titles on the TSP list match the approved job classifications that are identified in Section 6 of the SMAA Manual and/or the LEA BOP Provider Manual, Rendering Practitioner Qualifications section. If they do not match, they can be rejected or dropped from the TSP list unless there is an equivalency form on file. LEAs must complete an equivalency request form for TSPs with different job titles if the LEA wants them to be considered for inclusion on the TSP list. Submitted forms should be sent to the LEC, who will then submit the form to DHCS for review. It is essential to review the job titles of all staff participating in the RMTS and make necessary updates before final submission, ensuring compliance and smooth operations. Using the vacancy strategy can help an LEA with building a complete and accurate TSP list. It can help plan ahead for anticipated hires and avoid losing RMTS moments due to unfilled positions. It can also help to protect federal reimbursement opportunities by ensuring that once positions are filled, prorated costs for time worked can be claimed on the LEA BOP cost report and SMAA invoice. Although the vacancy strategy is helpful, it should be used wisely. Vacant positions during a quarter equal lost moments, so you still want to be careful when using the vacancy option. Vacancies should be used when the LEA is confident that positions will be filled during the quarter. Without filling vacant roles, it can lead to missed RMTS moments, which impact federal reimbursement opportunities. Again, LEA should be confident that the vacant positions will be filled before adding them to their TSP lists. For example, if there were 20 vacancies planned for the quarter, but only 10 were filled, there may be a greater potential for missed moments. To wrap it up, let's go over the key takeaways for developing and maintaining a quality TSP list. The TSP list includes all eligible staff expected to deliver Medicaid-covered services during the quarter. Pool 1 staff perform direct medical services under LEA BOP, and Pool 2 staff perform Medicaid administrative services under SMAA. A TSP cannot be listed in both pools. These lists directly impact LEA BOP cost reports and SMAA invoice, so accuracy is critical. Review and update the TSP list quarterly to ensure they are current and compliant. Another important point, focus on quality over quantity. Adding staff who rarely perform coverage activities can dilute RMTS results and reduce reimbursement. Finally, use the vacancy strategy to plan ahead for anticipated hires and protect reimbursement opportunities, but only include vacancies you are confident will be filled during the quarter. Following these practices will ensure compliance and maximize federal reimbursement for your LEA. I'll hand it back to Jorge now.
All right. Thank you both for that presentation. My name is Tara Gutierrez, and I am the manager of the school-based medical administrative activity side. Myself and Sarah Borkowski are working closely on the TSIP and all RMTS related inquiries that you have here on in the chat. So just wanted to open it up. I do see that there are quite a few questions. This is similar to a lot of the questions that we received in the January QM on the LA Bob side in regards to calendars and how many are needed, and the importance of numbers of providers within the same pool when they start. So just want to be very clear that your local education consortias, your LECs, are working closely with DHCS. We are again awaiting confirmed direction on our TSIP from CMS, but they will be able to provide you with very clear instructions and directions. I do see Jessica Jacobs, which is the Region 11 LEC coordinator, has her hand raised, so I'll go ahead and hand it to her now. Thanks, Jessica.
Hey, Tara. I was just going to say basically the same thing. You brought up that it's a lot of the questions that are being asked are going to be hard to be addressed on this platform because we have different SSPs and our regions all function a little bit differently. So like DHCS has said, we have an idea of what's going to be expected, but until we get some sort of approval, it's hard launch that with everyone. So we're just trying to get the gears going in everybody's heads of how you would collect these calendars or go about getting the data. But definitely, keep an eye out and an ear out for communication from your LEC for specific policy guidance. And feel free to reach out to whoever your assigned LEC coordinator is.
Thank you, Jessica. And yes, I can see that there's still some more questions here. The paid working days means that they're paid to work. So they're actually at a location being paid. So we understand that that could be split over, 9, 10, 11, or 12-month employees. Those are going to be handled by region. So each region may approach this a little bit differently. So again, like Jessica mentioned, I'll just echo that. We just want to make sure that you're getting the wheels turning on who will be there. Q4 is going to be like Q4 has been, right? So if folks are going to be gone May 15th, that should be what the calendar reflects. If people will be working and who those staff are through June 30th, again, working closely with your LEC coordinator to make sure that those calendars are accurately reflected. Paid working time means that you're in the office and you're being paid. Understandably, if you're not in the office and you're paid, that's not what we're trying to capture here, because you definitely don't want to, get a moment during that time. So if there is any other specific questions, please feel free to raise your hand and unmute. We would like to take those live to try to verbally provide some more direction.
Here, I can jump in real quick. We have an LA Bob specific question. So from Anna, do you have any updates on the approval of LPCCs for participation in the LA Bob? So we are including that in our state plan amendment. Right now, we do not have approval on it. That will pend basically our work with CMS. As we know more on that and any other practitioner types we're adding with LA Bob, we'll make sure to communicate that with the LEAs, because we know how important that is to all of you and also to DHCS as well.
And Tasha, I do see here your concern about, calendars not being approved until April for Q1. And we understand that this Q1 is going to be very challenging for every level, from our level here at DHCS to our partners at the LECs and at the LEA specifically. So we are all willing to do whatever it takes. We're here 100%. We are going to support at every level that we possibly can. To make it as successful as possible. So we do understand that that is going to be difficult. We are acknowledging that. However, the flip side of that is not receiving reimbursements, and that is not in the best interest of the LEA. That would be definitely a detriment, be a loss of anywhere from 20 to 25% of your annual reimbursement. So we all just, need to jump in both feet and work together and get this as accurate as possible, pending that final approval. And then Brittany, yeah, I'm not sure about that in the August. Again, having to do the best that you possibly can, not having calendars approved until August, that will be troublesome for Q1. So being as diligent as you can and as conservative as you can with those timelines would be the recommendation. Because even if calendars aren't approved and staff are working and you want to be reimbursed, they need to be included. So again, the instructions for where to submit. Thanya, I'm not sure. Do you have instructions for the TSP where to submit? I'm not sure what that question is, if you want to add to that or unmute yourself. And Diane, yes, I see that. Again, work closely with your LEC. Each region is going to have a little bit different guidance on how they are going to work within their system software platform to get all the calendars correctly into the systems for you all.
Yes, Michelle?
I just had a quick question. On that last one that you guys answered, it said, do you have instructions for the TSIP, where to submit? I didn't really understand that response or the question. Could you clarify?
Yeah, I didn't know the question either. So I asked, it was it Thanya to add more on that. I'm not sure what that meant either, Michelle.
Okay, because I just wanted to reiterate that the LECs don't have the TSIP. So,
Correct.
because I've been asked to share it and I don't have it. So I just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you. That is correct.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm really new to the previous account I left. I was just I've been doing the TSP quarterly reports that are submitted, but this new participating calendar requirements, I haven't done that. So I was just wondering, I'm listening to what we're doing, but is this due like on a yearly basis, or where do we provide you guys the shift schedules?
Right. So do you know what region you fall under or what LEC consortia you're with?
Well, it's the Santa Barbara County. I don't know if that helps.
Any of my LECs know Santa Barbara County?
Hi, it's Jennifer Hill, the Region 8 LEC. Sonia, we will definitely be in touch with you to go over those details with you.
Okay.
And
Thanks, Jennifer.
do you do this? Okay, but we'll talk offline. But Sonia, yes, we'll be in touch with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We do appreciate having the newer LEA coordinators here, though, to hear this messaging. So thank you, and thank you to our LEC partners for also supporting today. So same answer there with Charter Oak Unified in LA. They will be in contact with you as well. Is going to be my guess there. Again, once we have a more definitive direction that we can provide to the LECs, and they will be able to provide it to you all.
Oh, good morning, everybody. The LECs have been working very hard on how to get your guys' calendars all together. And I know that some of you call it calendars, contracted days, work grids. So just remember that it's going to be a process that's going to continue on. I want to say an airplane that is flying, putting it together, or whatever the saying is. So just be patient, and your LECs definitely will speak with you regarding the calendars.
Yes, hi. I'm hoping you can confirm whether ESY staff will be participating in MAA in both quarters 4 and 1. The last meeting with DHCS, they said the ESY will not participate.
So to confirm, it's not going to be split out. It will be part of the normal quarter 4 or quarter 1 respectively. So what we mean by that is it's not going to be like a separate sampling period. So if, again, you have staff that are working into maybe the last couple weeks of June, and that's your summer school time period, they would need to be included in that quarter 4 list. Likewise for July, if you have staff working that beginning part of July, and the key there is to know what staff, right, that you are putting them on your quarter 1 TSP list. So that's the distinction, is we're not separating out ESY as its own sampling. It'll be part of the 2 quarters.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You bet.
So on the slide on page 26, it talks about how we always do, like, want to increase our TSP list by staff that qualifies for either cost pool 1 or cost pool 2. But when I'm looking at this, is it going to lower it for the quarter only in quarter 1, or the whole entire program will be lowered if they have not eligible, non-reimbursable services?
For my team, can you go back to slide 26? Okay, so this is just a representation, and it's a BOP specific representation, I believe, because those percentages drive, I think ideally they go to the DMSP, right? So I think it's just showing how ensuring that you have folks that are actually doing those Medi-Cal reimbursable activities not only affect the LEA's reimbursement, but the entire consortia that you're in. That would be, if it's similar for the MA side, it would also be on the MA reimbursement, right? So you are one LEA within maybe 50 in your region. So
Okay.
depending on your staff, if they're getting a non-reimbursable moment, it's going to bring down the entire region, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Helen, this is Sarah Borkowski. I'm the manager of the LA Provider Relations Unit, which is one of the 2 teams that supports LA BOP. So specifically on this, when we talk about the quality TSP list, we're kind of wanting to make sure that you're not throwing everybody who is on your TSP list on there just because they may provide direct services. An example is school counselors. School counselors can do direct services, but they can do a lot of educational work as well. So kind of keeping in mind when you're building your TSP list and looking for a quality TSP list, is that school counselor doing majority of direct services, or are they doing educational services? And then kind of deciding what's best for your LEA when you're building out that TSP list.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Go ahead, Michelle.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask Brittany Freer a question. She made a note that all providers all have a required number of days, but set their own calendars. So assuming the software can handle it, I might have a different calendar for each provider. I just wanted to know I didn't hear the response to that one.
We did not. That was a comment there, Michelle. So DHS did not respond to that. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts for your region, how you would handle that.
Well, it's going to be like each district may be a little bit different. And so I don't have Brittany in my region, but it's a really good question because I do know that providers have a variety of calendars. And so the only thing I could comment, and other legs can chime in, is that it's new to all of us and we're still trying to figure out, because I haven't seen many of the calendars, how that's going to work out.
Thank you for stating that, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have raised my hand, because this is this gray area that we're in right now, right? Because we don't know exactly what the plane is supposed to look like when we lift on July 1st. But you know what it's going to come down to is I don't think we're going to launch perfectly, right? And that's just the reality of the situation. We need to do the best we can to capture the majority of our employees that are providing services. And then as we move forward and roll this out, we're going to refine this year after year. We could sit here for 5 hours and talk about the weeds and how I see us implementing here in this region, but it would be very overwhelming. So I think this is the same way that DHCS is kind of doing that tiered rollout for the, and I'm probably using the wrong word, so Sarah, correct me, for the provider enrollment, the Medi-Cal enrollment. I kind of see us not implementing as formally that way, but you know, we're going to do the best we can with what we have, and then we're going to learn how to do better each year. As long as we're within the program guidelines and we're making sure that nobody is being put in an audit risk situation, we'll be able to do this together. So try not to panic. It seems worse than it is.
Thank you. That was excellent.
The ESY is a can do, not must do. Is that correct? For the providers that work it.
Do you mind if I chime in quick, Tara? So kind of going back to what I said before, we want to make sure we at least start with capturing the bulk of the school year, so the regular school year. The way that the program works, if an employee is being paid to work and you survey them, you can collect and draw down on those salaries and benefits. So that's regardless if it's regular school year or your extended school year. The issues that arise are being able to capture those employees that are working ESY because of the timing of the TSP lists. So if your district knows they have everything on point and they know exactly who's going to be working, you would coordinate with your LEC to make sure you're getting them on the TSP list to the best of the abilities, the way that the SSP allows. But it's not claiming at all isn't a requirement, right? It's all optional. Yeah.
That's fine. From the meeting that we had, I was just a little unclear that say if we have a TSP that works 4 hours during ESY and then starts back in August working a full shift, then I'm locking them into the 4 hours somehow.
No.
Or is it an either or? How do I calendar for that?
No, so you have to capture any time that they could be working. And so this is kind of what DHCS was talking about. When you're weighing that quality versus quantity, you would have to have them at the 8-hour the entire quarter, because the SSPs aren't created to allow for changing the shifts midway through the sample, because that sample's locked in once you run the algorithm. So that's a decision you have to make, like, you know, what type of
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I assumed. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on it. We haven't, so we can manage it in the best possible way. Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a good handle.
Thank you. And we are at time, and so I just want to thank everybody who attended today. We appreciate that. We understand that this is a higher level messaging here, and we know that there will be some weeds to get through together. And as soon as DHCS does receive approval, we will share with our LEC partners, who will then share with the LEA. So we will be, disseminating information as quickly as we can. So appreciate all of your time today. And again, if you have any questions, the last page of the slide has our 2 respective mailboxes. And Alan, we just provide these slides themselves. We do not record. So these are not made available. So again, if you have questions, please reach out, and thank you again. Have a great rest of your week.